So to help you with the Excel chart for example 1, open Excel workbook and enter the title as shown here. You might want to adjust the size of the columns like this so that you don't get something like this where the text is obscured, so make sure that everything is visible. So left click and scroll the columns like this. Enter what you can. You'll notice that some of the numbers that have a 0 after the decimal are often chopped off, and it looks messy, so you might want to highlight the whole column, click on home, click on number, go to number here and make sure that everything has 2 decimals. And then that will make sure that these zeros that previously were chopped off are now in place, and it just looks neater. Okay, now the point of this workshop is to make sure that you learn how to use the spreadsheet itself for doing calculations rather than resort to a calculator. So we need to calculate each value minus the average. The first thing we need to do is calculate the average. Okay, so we'll pick a cell here. We need the average of all these numbers. Hit the equal sign, because whenever we hit the equal sign, that tells us that we're going to add a formula. Now on this icon here you've got a choice of different functions. Now we just want to click on average. So click on average, click on this first square here, move this out the way, and then we want to select the cells to average over like this. Just highlight them using the left mouse button, release, hit this button again, and then click OK. So the average of all these numbers is 24.29. Now we're ready to complete this column. So we previously showed how to record the average. Now you have to submit the codes to your instructor for grading, so you would copy and paste this code. So you can just copy and paste this onto a Word document, and that's how your instructor will know that you actually did this properly. Okay, so again we're going to enter code or a formula, so we hit the equals button. Now I need each value minus the average, so I can click on this value, then I hit the minus button, and then this is the average. Now to enter the average we can click on it, but because I want this to be an absolute value, I'm going to encase it in $signs. So the letter. So by putting $signs around the letter of a cell that I want to keep, it will always keep this value. If I don't put $signs as in around this letter here, it will scroll down. So this will become more clear when I actually show you how to do it. So this is the right formula. Let's click enter, and then I'm going to highlight. I'm going to left click, drag down, and then I'm going to go to home, fill down. Now I can inspect the formula. So you'll notice as I go down, C14 with the $signs never changes, but C without the $sign always changes. So again, the $signs added around that C maintain C14 in all the formula. So you wouldn't have to copy every single one of these, but to let your instructor know that you've done it, I would just copy at least one, so that you're letting him or her know that you know how to use the dollar signs and what they mean. Now it's time to square the d-values. Now there's a potential pitfall here. So for example, if I were just simply to try and square these numbers, I'd run into a problem because this is a formula. So for example, if I were to hit equal P here for power, double click that, the number I want to enter, so this formula, comma, and then I want to raise it to the power 2, close brackets. Then clearly 0 squared is not anything other than 0. If I were to then scroll down, you can quickly see that all the numbers would be wrong. So I'm pointing this out so that you can avoid this pitfall. These are not the numbers that you're given in example 1. And again, the problem is I've tried to square not a number, but I've tried to square a formula. Okay, so let's get rid of this. So what we're going to have to do first is to convert these formulas. Once we've copied and pasted the code for our instructor, we're going to have to convert these formulas to absolute numbers, or to just numbers. So what we'll do is we'll copy the numbers. So copy them, either Control C, or you can go to File, Copy, and then let's paste them on top of themselves, but as numbers. So if we go to Paste, and we want to just click on here where it's just values. Okay. So now if we click on the numbers, they're just numbers, they're not formulas anymore. Okay, now when we go to square it, it should work and give us the right numbers. So we hit capital P, we go down to power, double click, we enter the number we want to raise to a power, which in this case is 0, comma, we want to raise it to the power 2, close brackets, let's see if it worked. No. Okay, let's see why it didn't work again. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and fix these to 2 decimals then. Okay, so let's make sure these numbers really are 2 decimals. It looks like they might have been saved as more than 2 decimals, so let's go number, definitely 2 decimals. Okay. Yeah, but it looks like they're a lot more than 2 decimals. Okay, then let's try this. Let's copy them. Let's just put them over here for a second. Okay, now let's just enter the numbers. Let's get rid of all these, because I think the problem then was being caused by the fact that the computer was saving more decimals than it should have. So let's just enter these fresh. let's now get rid of these numbers that I used just to transfer them over. Now let's try again. Equals capital P for power, double click, enter the number. We want to raise it to the second power, close brackets, and indeed, as it should be 0. Home, fill down. Now we want to give this to 4 decimals. So let's go to number, put this on 4, okay, and finally that's at 4 decimals. Now we're ready to sum all the d² values, so let's put it in this square here. We're going to enter a formula, so we'll hit the equals sign. Then I want to hit this icon, this little arrow here. I want to go to sum, and I need to hit this button to tell the computer which cells to sum over. Click on the first one, keep the left mouse button depressed, and then drag my finger down the mouse. Release the left mouse button. So when all the cells are selected, I can hit this button again. Select OK. So the sum of all these numbers is given here. Now I'm ready to calculate the standard deviation. So the formula is given on your worksheet. So it's the sum of d² over n minus 1, where n is 10. So the standard deviation, we can put it, I guess, over here. Let's call it S. It's going to equal the sum of all d² divided by n minus 1. So there are 10 values. So 10 minus 1 is 9. I need to square root the whole thing, so let's put this whole thing in brackets. Now to square root, I'm going to hit the S button, and then I'm going to hit this SQRT, and maybe double click. Okay, so the computer's now knows to square root the value in E14 divided by 9. We can click accept. So the standard deviation is 0.09. There's also a function on the computer we can double check. Again, we're going to enter another formula. The standard deviation button. So we can look at the standard deviation of these measurements here. So let's select these here. And it'll give us the same value. So why not just use this all along? Well, I would use this to double check your work, but in terms of copying and pasting work for your instructor, I would definitely show both. Show this formula for sure, and I would also show this formula as proof that you can use both of these functions.